first of all, as both former Premier and former Minister for the Arts, this concept, I think, is one that deserves support, and I'm very pleased to offer my support. Shepparton has a very strong history and heritage in arts and culture, and this offers an opportunity to bring it all together and to get the benefit of that consolidation. And I'm absolutely confident that arts and culture have the capacity to transform cities and towns.
You've got a unique opportunity with the Gantner collection, and in fact I was just looking at this the other day. It's just a magnificent collection of Indigenous art, and many galleries across Australia would literally kill to get their hands on it.
I've always thought that the arts are something that brings a community together, that tells stories about who we are and what's important about ourselves and about our cultures. And in Shepparton particularly, we're a very multicultural society with over 37 different languages spoken here and a large Aboriginal contingent. So it's something that it brings, as I said, people together so we can get to know each other, we can build bridges, we can improve our livability and build a cohesive society. I think to do that, you need to know each other, and the arts and the culture are a good way of finding out about each other.
Well, I've always had an interest in the arts, I guess like lots of people in the community, but through all my years in public life, I came to realise that the arts are more and more significant in an economic sense, and so important in terms of quality of life. And if you look at now what drives the success of many places and cities in Australia and around the world, the quality of life jumps out as number one, and you see that with Melbourne, the world's most livable city. And the arts, the creative industries are just so important to that quality of life.
Although Tasmania's beautiful, it's got natural resources and all those kind of things, it's got everything going for it down there, however, it was dying. And since the inspirational work of David Walsh, who just did it, Tasmania is now, the economic growth there is extraordinary. People go down to Tasmania and for that specific purpose to go to Mona, but the benefits for the whole community is extraordinary.
I think it's not just elitist, it's about bringing people together. Also, yes, there is the big end of town, do enjoy some of the high arts, but if you want professionals in this town, you have to attract them. You have to build something that's going to make sure that they want to come and live in this place, and they want to bring their spouses and their family to be brought up here as well. So it's an important part of making sure that we have a rich and diverse culture and a strong, viable economic town.
Well, this is all about gathering your strengths, and sometimes those strengths are hidden, sometimes they're dispersed. But if you can bring them all together, you get a maximum benefit.
I think for regional economies too, that are going through change, fewer jobs in the manufacturing sector, and that's, you know, a phenomenon all around the world. There are more and more jobs in the services sector, in the creative economy, and now what we call the visitor economy. You know, 100 years ago it was vagabonds, then it was travellers, then it was tourists, now it's the visitor economy, and it's the biggest single driver of jobs in the world. And if you're going to attract people to your area, the arts content is really crucial.
There's a crying need for a fantastic Indigenous gallery in Victoria and actually more broadly across Australia. And this is an opportunity to take an Indigenous collection base which is being made available and allow Shepparton's own history to be a part of that into the future. I think that's a very, very strong opportunity for Shepparton and for the Indigenous community right around Australia.
It would be a great aspect of diversification for a wonderful region. It is renowned as the food bowl, that is true, and justifiably so. And much of the past and the future will be vested in that important area of its economy. But this is another element, another string to the bow, and the region already has a very strong reputation. This would, in an exhibit sense, enable it to be able to have its wares on display in a way that will not only, of course, enable local artists to be able to show the world what they have done, but also to bring tourism. It is one of the great sporting centres of regional Victoria. It is blessed with lovely weather. It's a beautiful, beautiful country, has many other attractions. This would be a great point of diversification.
I think that this is a proposal that is looking at building a cultural hub. It's something that celebrates the best parts of our community, our multiculturalism and our Indigenous history. It's also something that is going to bring people to a space where they can celebrate the best parts of this area. It's also a sculptural park. It's an area where people can be proud, and it brings a tourist attraction to this area, which we don't have. And it's something that reintroduces us to the water, to the river to some degree, which is obviously the lifeblood of this community. Oh, and yes, it's an art gallery. That's just a small part of it. I think it's the major part of this is something that is a cultural statement. It's a statement about the best parts of our community.
This is a brilliant initiative, and I strongly support it. I think that Shepparton, of course, as a centre for the arts, is already emerging as a significant player. But here you have a city that has one of the greatest collections of ceramics in Australia and nowhere to exhibit it. So to have a gallery in the nature of that proposed, it will add much not only to Shepparton but to the Goulburn Valley region more generally.
You know, these are never easy decisions for funding bodies because, you know, we live in a time where budgets are tight, you know, surpluses are thin or non-existent, so I know that very well. So it's always hard to find the money. But I think for Shepparton, and this is true of so many of the regional communities, they are in a process of change, and where we were 30 years ago with the sort of jobs and employment patterns, that's not the same today, and it won't be in the future. And whether people like it or not, right or wrong, the services sector and the creative industries and new content and entertainment and the visitor economy, these things are going to be bigger and bigger drivers of jobs. And so I think this is really, it's a Monty for Shepparton. And you think of what Geelong's done, what Ballarat's doing, what Bendigo's done over recent years, then the Performing Arts Centre, as I mentioned, Wangaratta and Sale, what Mildura's done. So everybody is moving into this space. And so I think it's really important for Shepparton and the region, and most importantly the residents who live there, to get the benefit and the enrichment and the value and the jobs that will come as a result of this.
This whole thing is a no-brainer, and wouldn't the council, how extraordinarily exciting would it be for this group of councillors to look back and go, they were the ones that had the vision and they were the ones that said, we're going to make this happen.
Well, look, I'd love to do it, but I know everybody should stick to his own. Ted has a well-established expertise in these areas. He can swim across. Perhaps I'll run across.
Well, I've been at the aquatic centre there. I've had a good swim there at the aquatic centre a number of times, but I haven't swum in the lake. So if you're tempting me, put the money in, and I'm happy to have a swim across the lake.